And I agree with it. And this is what I've been trying to tell people is like, figure it out. Don't wait for your company to give you a PD. You need to sit your butt down for 1 hour a day and play with AI and figure out how it can help you be better at your job. Be good at your job and be good at AI. That is your best defense. Knowledge is power. We've been saying that forever. And the knowledge is power aspect is understand the landscape, figure out what's going on here and lean into it, figure out how you can benefit from this. Become the go-to person in your organization or your industry. That's what I did, who understands the industry and understands how AI works in that industry. And that gives you an advantage. And at this point, we need to be thinking about our own advantages. We need to be helping position our companies in ways that are, yes, uh, financially beneficial, but also like ethically, like what are our obligations as companies? Lots of people don't care, but this is going to affect everybody. And if you think you're just in a bubble, you're you're going to feel this either from other countries, the world economy, from society. Like everybody needs to be doing a little bit of their part. And the time has come to just sit down and figure it out. Like there's no shortage of free resources. You have optimal access to every AI tool for free. There is no barrier to entry. There is no excuse. This is just something you have to figure out. If you decided, 20 years ago that the internet wasn't for you, like that wouldn't have been super wise at the time and long term. And this is that. A lot of people, and Matt mentions this, they tried AI like when it first came out, like 2 years ago, and they were like, that sucked. It's not even good. It's not even smart. It makes stuff up. That is not this. Paul Reitzer, who has the Artificial Intelligence Show, it's a podcast. He's a friend of mine. He said something interesting in his podcast this week that it's kind of like people who've only ever used the internet for sending emails and they didn't realize all these other parts of the internet existed and what exactly this made possible. That's what I feel like we're at. And people might think, well, AI, it's just for this. It's just for email, the internet. It's bigger than that. And it's time to just kind of dig in.
I hear people saying, it's going to be so easy for people to start businesses. You'll have the first kind of solopreneur businesses that'll be worth $1 billion and blah, blah, blah. And everybody should go out and start a business. And every time I think about that, having started a business myself, I think, doing what exactly? It's like, it sounds great. It's easy. It's easy. But what's the trick in any business is where you find value. How you're going to actually get people to pay you. It's one thing to say I have a business. It's another thing to say I have a profitable business or I have a business that is actually growing and potentially employing people or agents. And I come back to the same thing with regard to AI skills. Every time I've used AI, and I use it a lot, I'm more than a little overwhelmed by the output. It's almost like I at the end of every chat, I have to say, okay, now take everything we just talked about for the last half hour and boil it down to something that I can actually use because I've gone so deep and it's gone so wide and there's no way I can make this. I couldn't show this to anybody. This is like unbelievable output.
Totally.
But I can't, it's unusable. There's so much information that has been dumped into this
Fire
channel.
hose. For sure.
I don't know what to do with it anymore. And so I don't even, and so, I look at my chat history and it's just this like train wreck of, I look like a toddler who's started building things and put them away and built things and put them away. And so what do you say, what would be a few things that people could hang on to in terms of what they should learn? So there's so much that they could potentially, begin to come up to speed around. Is there any kind of go-tos that you like?
I think the biggest message that people need to hear is to think smaller. I think, we're tempted and AI does help us think big. And there's a lot of new studies coming out showing how it makes you so much less productive because of exactly what you said, the capabilities, and it gives you all of this, then you end up overwhelmed and you don't actually get anything done. But if you think smaller, and where I would suggest people start, if you've already been experimenting with chats, my personal favorite is Claude, but Claude has a feature called Claude Cowork. And it's kind of like a simpler version of Claude Code, But really, it can work with anything on your computer. And if you just think of one thing that you hate to do, let's say, so you can give a folder to Claude Cowork and it will organize your entire downloads. Just say, organize this into categories, rename everything as to what's exactly in the file, organize it for me in a way that makes sense, and do this every day at 3 p.m. at the end of my day. That's a small thing that maybe you burned some of your mental energy on before, something you've been meaning to get to. See how it does at that. And as you work on small things, you have a little bit more freed up bandwidth to think about something bigger. Oh, if it can do this, well, then I wonder then if it could go through all of those, you know, client files. Or for me, I did academic research papers. They've all just like DOIs. I don't know what any of them are. It organized them. It built a giant spreadsheet by topic that I could easily reference and renamed everything by the author and the year. Like things like that are helpful. And then as you experiment with little things like that, you start to think more about what's possible in your lane of expertise, things that you're already doing that can be done better. And then it's tiny little Lego building blocks from there. In my experience, that's how I got good at using AI is I'd be like, oh, early on, I can give AI like some data and it can tell me, let me give it all my Peloton data and have it tell me like which instructor's classes I work the hardest in. And then from there, you can say, you can build your way up to, and Allie K. Miller is like brilliant, but she just has a prompt. You copy and paste in, it builds you a board of directors with Brene Brown and Tony Robbins and everyone who looks at your business files and says, here's where you can monetize this. Where should we start? And it's just getting that experience of starting small, seeing what's possible, and then starting to think a little bit bigger based on your scope that you already exist in. You don't have to go out and do something brand new.
Well, so let's talk about what makes us human
Hmm.
versus this thing, which in my mind can do a really good job of pretending to be human,
Really good.
representing itself as empathetic, representing itself as sympathetic or, enthusiastic or whatever it does, right? Sycophantic. So what makes us human? I mean, I know we have emotions and I know those are, one might argue, going to get in the way. But talk a little bit about kind of what you see as our advantage in this future.
Going back to the pandemic even, I think for a lot of us, like being isolated was hard. And we just kind of craved being with other people. That social experience, the energy of being in a room with people together, um, having shared experiences, it's that's hard to replace. And I feel like a lot of us experienced that in the last 5 or 6 years, like just I miss going to a concert and having that shared experience, or, those little things that as much as we can say, oh, people drive us nuts, or, I don't like being around people, which is kind of trendy now. When you call Delta, like you want to talk to an agent, you want to talk to a human, right? Like there's something about that that still matters. um, I will tell you, like, again, on the heels of the pandemic, and it's so interesting, we went through this just before the AI boom. That really caused like a loneliness epidemic. It disconnected people. It forced people into these relationships with technology that are still remain unhealthy. And I think if anything, that helped us realize more the value of that human piece and that human connection. Like we didn't keep kids in online school. We sent them back to be with human teachers and with their friends and to play
Right.
sports. I don't want to cheer for my team at an Olympics where humans are competing against robots. I don't want to go see Hamilton on Broadway played by robots. There's something that we crave, like on a primal, like human level, about connecting with and being with other people and having human experiences. And the hope is that the things that we can get done quickly, and this is very cliche and I get tired of hearing it, but you hope that AI can do the stuff so we free ourselves up to have more time for those human experiences. The latest research is telling us that actually we're experiencing more burnout because we can be doing this all the time and the productivity never ends. And so we're doing more and we're doing more outside of our scopes. But I think as we get better at setting boundaries on that, for example, like I run a business too, right? So I'm used to doing things all day long and into the evening. But with the help of some of this AI I've been using the last few weeks, I had everything done that I needed to get done by 11 o'clock one day. And I sat for a minute and I thought, well, my option here is I can start into something new, build a new project, make a new business, like whatever it is, or I can actually use this gift of time to do something that matters, right? And so I chose to do that. I chose to go like visit some family. I chose to go like go for a walk outside. I intentionally chose some of those human experiences, and it made a difference in my mental health for that day, for that week. And it was a gift that technology gave me that I wouldn't have had otherwise.